I would say that you can market yourself as a marketer in a lot of different ways. So, even if you don't have marketing experience, you can turn so many different experiences into relevant experience for marketing. The ability to empathize and understand the people or their audience, like be able to put themselves in the audience's brain. You have to think about what your user will get out of creating that content for you and then help them succeed.
Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Marketing Over Chai. Today, I'm joined by Kendall Breitman, a journalist who transitioned to building Riverside FM's network of engaged podcasters as their community manager. Kendall's key skill is knowing how to listen to people's stories and understand what brings these stories together. We're discussing what it takes to build a strong community in a rapidly developing online world. So, first things first, Kendall, what's your go to drink? Mine's green tea today.
I'm a coffee person, I would say. So I'd go towards coffee, but if it's nice outside, iced coffee is my favorite thing.
So let's dive in. What has been your career journey so far, and what led you to where you are now, which is the center at building Riverside's community?
So my career trajectory has been a little bit funny just because, as you said, I started off as a journalist. So I was a political reporter for US political elections. Mainly in 2016, I was following around candidates and reporting on the entire election cycle. And yeah, it was a really crazy experience. I basically lived out of a suitcase for about a year, and we followed all of the candidates. So I was working with Bloomberg at the time, later ended up at NBC, where I was working as a television producer there, then ended up transitioning into marketing. I made a move from New York over to Tel Aviv. And so I couldn't really do political reporting because I was now in a country where I didn't know the language. So it's really hard to report on like current events when you don't really understand them so much yet, right? So I ended up doing what a lot of people in journalism do, which is the cliche is you move to marketing or PR. So I originally started with marketing and was content writing just because I was like, okay, I like to write. This seems like a good fit. But then I kind of quickly realized that I didn't love that kind of writing and I was trying to get back to my roots. I'm like, okay, what did I love about journalism if it wasn't the writing part of it? And what I realized is that it was standing in lines and speaking with people at rallies and at political events, yeah, and hearing about what they cared about and then turning that into a story. So I'd speak with 20 people and then say, okay, this is the story, this is the takeaway. So it was really based on connections and understanding people. And then Riverside had reached out for a community manager job, and I'd never even thought of that. But then when I started reading the job description, I was like, yeah, this really sounds like me, and moved over to community management. So a little bit of a winding way of getting to where I am now, and not so expected, but really fit me well.
What I think works really beautifully is like when you said you like sharing people's stories and giving them a voice. And in a way, like Riverside kind of empowers little podcasters like me to have that voice and to do that. So there's like a very deep connect, and it's very like I just love how the universe works sometimes. It just like aligns the most randomest things together and it makes it work.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of my favorite parts of Riverside is that it kind of takes away, it like democratizes podcasting and video creation. Like, I don't need a studio to be able to create a podcast to get my voice out there. I just need a something to record with, and you can use Riverside and then be able to get really high quality recordings. But when you do that, it also means you get more stories out there. So when you don't need the studio or the expensive equipment, it means that people can connect with people that aren't exactly in the same room as them. When you're able to kind of democratize that process, it means that you get more stories, more perspectives, and that's what I think kind of makes the world better is when more people hear those stories.
Well, it's made my world better because like you guys
Awesome.
have like such amazing AI tools, and it's just so easy to use. So it's not very intimidating for a newbie like me to actually go there and do it and be like, oh, I can do this. But
Exactly.
it is because the tool is so great, right? Like, I mean, I'm a big fan, if you haven't figured that out yet.
Well, I'm really glad to hear that. And it's also like, I mean, I could lead a community for a lot of different startups and companies, but this specific community of podcasters and video creators, it's just like I feel really like I struck gold. I'm like, oh my gosh, I get to speak with really cool and interesting people all day, and it's all people who like to talk. So I do too, but you don't really need a podcaster who's like, I'd rather not have a conversation, you know? It's really fun to be
Yeah.
able to actually work with this community.
Yeah, it's really great. And I love what you're doing because, like, a lot of us are new and kind of figuring things out. And we can see, like, the posts, it makes you feel like you're part of something and you're not figuring it out alone. Everything you do is like, even the fact that you're here, like, so just for context, everyone, I met Kendall through a post she put online on Riverside, and I just said, "Hey," it said, "Hey, if you want to find a new guest, like mention us in the comments," and I did, and here she is. I mean, I was like, "Wow, I wasn't expecting that to actually happen." So, yeah, that's really great. Like, I mean, it made me feel so nice.
I'm really glad. It makes me feel very nice that you wanted to be on your show. So here we are.
Earlier this summer, I launched my marketing and communications consulting business. Since then, I've launched a website, I've ran a social media summer campaign, and shared that entire journey online on LinkedIn. If you could use some help sharpening your brand or leveling up your social media, please reach out to me. I would love to work with you. You can reach out to me by emailing me at marketingoverchai@gmail.com. I'll leave a link in the description. Thank you so much. Your support means a lot to me. And now let's get back to the episode. Here we are. Okay, so I'm going to dive into what I call the rapid fire round, where I'm going to shoot
Let's do it.
a few big questions at you, and they're actually easy questions, but you got to tell me the first thing that comes to your mind.
Okay.
You ready?
Mm-hmm. I'm
Okay, let's
I'm
go.
nervous, but I'm into it.
Oh, we can edit the stuff
Yeah,
you
yeah,
don't
yeah. If
want
I
in
say something
later.
stupid, just edit it in post through the Riverside editor.
Uh, okay, here we go. What's your favorite social media platform?
Instagram or TikTok.
Email marketing or content marketing?
Email marketing. I think, yeah.
Influencer marketing or affiliate marketing?
Ooh, affiliate marketing.
Long form content or short form content?
Ooh, long form because I'm better at it.
Emails or meetings?
It depends on the subject. For some things, this should have been an email. For some things, I'm like, oh my gosh, we need to meet about this. I don't feel like having an 20 email long thread.
That's fair. Are you a morning person or a night owl?
Night, for sure.
City life or the countryside?
Cities, 100%.
What's your biggest marketing trend of 2024 according to you?
I really I'm not just saying this because I'm in community, but I really think community marketing is a really emerging and a great thing for brands.
Okay. One word to describe the future of marketing.
Authenticity.
That's true. Most overhyped marketing tool?
Ooh. That's a hard one. I have to think about that one. Most overhyped.
Okay, we can come back to it later. Most underrated marketing strategy?
Personal connections.
Best piece of marketing advice you ever received?
Ooh. I think I would actually say that this is about content, less about marketing. But an old producer told me that for all videos, they should be as long as they want to be. And what that basically means is that if you're watching a video, an ad, video podcast, whatever, if you feel yourself being like, how much longer is this? That's when it should be over. That there's content that speaks in different lengths and that you should listen to that content and it knows when it wants to be over, if that makes sense.
That is kind of true.
Yeah.
First thing you do in the morning?
First thing I do in the morning is probably check social media or I check my messages if I missed anything.
That's a trend with most marketers, I'm finding.
Yeah. It's mostly I'll check like text messages or things like that, and then while I'm on my phone, I'm like suddenly on Instagram, and then I'm like, okay, you have to get out of bed.
A hobby you're passionate about?
I love ceramics, actually. I make some bowls and some cups. So that's a hobby that I have a lot of fun with.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
A book you think everyone should read?
Ooh, a book everyone should read. I just finished reading Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, which I know was like a huge book like a year ago, but like,
Hmm.
wow, it was such it was like a really incredible read. So maybe I'd say that because it's top of mind.
Oh, okay. Favorite ad?
Ooh, favorite ad. That's a tough one. Part of me wants to get back to me on this one. I'm sorry. I'm trying to think of, there's so many really good ads that I'm like, oh my gosh, how do I pick one?
It's impossible to pick one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
seriously.
One skill every marketer should have, according to you.
One skill every marketer should have. I think that the ability to empathize and understand the people or their audience, like be able to put themselves in the audience's brain.
Yeah, that's true. It's like empathy, right?
Yeah, empathy, but also like knowing how they would like if a new feature comes out, like what would they use it for? What would make them excited about it? That kind of thing. Like how would they want to use it? So just kind of understanding who your audience is, your user is.
I get you. Um, if you could work in any industry other than marketing, what would it be?
Ooh, I love interior design. Like I can spend hours looking at like architectural digest and stuff like that. I love
Wow,
interior design, so that would I guess be the answer to that one.
that's pretty cool.
Thank you.
If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
By a beach, for sure. It can be, I don't know exactly where, but I love being by a beach. I live in Tel Aviv now, and so being by a beach and in a city, it's like that's ideal for me.
Yes, I love beaches where it's warm enough to get into the water.
Hmm.
I moved to Canada and I realized that that's not all beaches.
No, it is definitely not. When I moved to Tel Aviv, I was shocked because I was like, wow, this water is like bath water. It's so warm, which I really like, but some people are really freaked out by that.
You did great at the rapid fire round, and we can come back to those at the end.
Thank you. Thank you. We're gonna come back to the ads, and there was another one, but it's just hard to pick.
I know. I know. That's why I put that in rapid fire because it's like, what are you thinking about right now? And it's impossible to, prep for that. Um, so, what's the most exciting thing about being a community manager at Riverside?
So I think it might sound cliche, but I really think that it's meeting people. I jump on calls with community members all of the time and just speak with them about what they care about, where they want to go next. And I think that it is either meeting them or like seeing them succeed. So if we do a webinar and they wrote and they said, "Oh my gosh, I applied what you had talked about in this webinar and I ended up getting X result." That's my favorite part. Like, I really like connecting with people. No, really, I
Aw.
know it sounds cliche. It's just like I really love that human to human connection and feeling like I'm actually making some sort of impact on people's like people's passions because a lot of people are doing this out of passion. It's or a lot of people are doing it out of business, but like for their business, but the idea that people are creating because it makes them feel good and to help them kind of do that is really exciting for me.
Oh, I love that. And I connect with it because,
It's a heartwarming little answer.
yeah. No, but it is so true. Like, a lot of times people get stuck in jobs that they don't really are not passionate about at some point, and there's this like disconnect, right? But when you do a
Yeah.
passion project like this, it's like no matter how tired you are after a very long day, you still find the energy and the love. Like, it kind of like the enthusiasm just puts you there. So uh, being engaged with what you're doing is like I can imagine, like, because you get to talk to a lot of people who have that same kind of energy, and it's definitely going to be rejuvenating. Like, I would feed off that for sure.
Yeah, exactly. I can feel when I haven't spoken to a user in a long time. Like if I'm like just taking meetings within Riverside or I'm doing a lot of like behind the scenes stuff, I will reach out to a user and be like, "Hey, do you want to jump on a call? I would love to get to know you." And it really it makes me feel really good after I do it too.
Mm-hmm. So, what has been some of the biggest challenges you faced, when you manage a growing community? And I know the Riverside community is kind of tight, and everyone's really engaged and positive. But there are communities that people are building where they have to face trolls and things like that. So, any what advice do you have for them and
Yes.
how to deal with situations like this?
Yeah, so I think that one of the hardest parts about community management is that there are a lot of different expectations among people. Like you can release a feature and it might not meet what somebody wants. It could perfectly meet what another person wants. And so I think that sometimes as a community manager, I can also be in that support role. So if somebody's frustrated with something, if somebody's having an issue or anything like that, I think that that's harder for me because no, it's because
Oh,
you're managing this is something that somebody's passionate about. They're creating this content and then if they hit a snag. So the idea of like being in that customer management role when somebody's frustrated can be a little bit difficult, especially because I want to see it through to the end and have it be a great resolution. And most of the time it is just like for sometimes it can just be it's a different part of the role is the support aspect of it. So it's definitely made me look at how when I reach out to people in support or things like that, like how I approach it, how I discuss any issues I'm having. Even the other day, like I got a delivery and it came with the wrong food. And then I'm like, hey, how are you? How is your day today to the agent? Just because like I've been the person on the other side of it, like trying to solve an issue. So yeah, I would say that that's a difficult part of it. And then it's just a different personalities and different people, and
yeah.
so maybe somebody made a post and another person wrote something sassy on their post, and like trying to make sure that everyone feels like the community is a good, safe, supportive place. Yeah.
Safe.
Yes.
hmm And that's the thing with the internet, right? Like, because you're kind of somewhat hidden, a lot of people think they can go wild and just say stuff that they would never
Exactly.
do face to face. So, yeah, that part of the job is kind of difficult. Like, I completely would understand. And I love the point that you made about, like, the customer service kind of part of it. So when I moved to Toronto, I took up what we call a survival job, and I was working with a call center,
Mhm.
and that was probably like the hardest job I ever had because there was so many people calling
Yeah.
in complaining. It was crazy, but just like you, I started giving everybody I met with 5 stars on like everything after that because
Exactly. It changes. It's like how people say to be a server, like a waiter or waitress
Mhm.
at one point in your life. It's like doing those jobs makes you order differently at a restaurant. Like
Yeah.
it just makes you be able to empathize with other people. I will say though, a big thing that I learned is if somebody is frustrated, it's really great to jump on a call with them. Like for me, like you can be frustrated as like an avatar when you're just on social media. But as soon as you get in a call and you see that I'm a person, I see that you're a person, and we could just like talk it out. You see that I care. It really changes the way that people will approach it. So, or the next time that they reach out, they're more excited. They're more not excited, like they're more it's like speaking with a friend. I'll say that like the person to person connection that I mentioned before is like an underrated thing in marketing is like when I'm talking with a
Mhm.
user on a call, there's I don't know the actual stats on this, but like 9 times out of 10, I'd say they comment on our posts more. They invite their friends to the community more. They're more engaged. It's like once you make those personal connections, they feel like they're a part of something and I feel like they're a part of something.
Oh yeah.
So it really creates this like very cool connection that I think like people are really really craving online with when they're speaking with other people and brands.
Yeah. That's great advice. I'm gonna hop on more calls after this. I mean, I'm charged now.
Yeah, or even just like to like I feel like as for any marketers, they might not be community managers, they might not be in a support role, but
Hmm.
like for any marketers, like if you can get on calls with your users or your customers, do it. Because when I first started, I thought that the community, what they wanted, I wanted to build a whole community around connecting with other people. And yes, that is what the community does. But then I dug deeper. I actually went on calls with creators and ask them why they want to connect with people. And they're like, I want to learn more. I want to be better at what I do. I want to have a mentor, something like that. And I was like, this community should be built around help and support. And I'm not talking about like help center. I'm talking about like, hey guys, how do you keep yourself motivated? Like those
Yeah.
kinds of things. And so there's so much power in just having a conversation with people. I tell podcasters all the time, I'm like, if somebody comments on your story and says like, I loved your latest episode, try to really engage in a conversation with them. You're going to learn so much by the people who listen, who engage with your stuff. So really, there's been nothing better than that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely love that. We're going to move to our next section, which
All
is
right.
about marketing trends. And we know the buzzword right now is AI and AI
Mm-hmm.
powered tools and everything. So Riverside as a platform has some great stuff. We've got, I mean, stuff that's like making my work easier with like, all your AI suite that you guys just launched and your multi-layer editing and your the
Yes.
silence removers and all of that. So for you, there's like two parts of this question. One is like for from the product, side, like how do you see AI further improving things? And the other thing is just for you as a community manager, how do you use AI to, streamline things and make things better for you?
So I'll answer this in two parts. So first part about how AI is helping creators create better. I saw a meme or like a post a couple of weeks ago that really stuck out to me. And it was saying like, I don't want AI to do my creative work so that I can have more time to do the dishes. I want AI to do the dishes so that I have more time to do my creative work. And I really think that that's like so spot on. So what our AI with Riverside, what we're doing is we're trying to make the editing process easier for people. So, for example, like taking all of the time to cut out silences. Instead, you can do one click and remove them all. But then you can also, what's kind of key here for me with creative processes is that, like, yeah, I can have AI create an email for me, but I want to be able to tweak it because I want it to sound like me. I want to be able to, like, really have control over the creative process. So everything that we do as far as AI, we're also able to edit it and make it our own. So for example, we have AI chapters and they're created for you, like the time codes of your recording, but you can change them yourself or layouts. Yes, we can create all these layouts for you, but also you can tweak them. So giving people the ability to cut out the time to do what they want to do. But if what you want to do is have full control over your content, which most people do, we also allow you to have that full control. So it's really about saving time and giving you the creative freedom.
I think the other thing that I found very empowering was the fact that it just writes your transcripts for you.
Yes, so there are a ton
That's
of things like that. Yeah,
Yeah, it's great. The fact that it like summarizes your entire episode and then you can just like edit it rather than work on it from scratch. It gives me so much time back, right? And it,
exactly. And it makes your creative process better. I mean, we have the AI created transcripts. We have AI show notes. So you get a summary and all the time
hmm
codes and everything in a click. We have
hmm
AI created
hmm
social media clips.
magic
Yes.
clips.
So
Yeah,
if
I love
yeah, they're
them.
great. And so if you don't want to take all the time clipping your episode to put it on social media, you're like, okay, I know I need to create social media clips. Why don't we have an AI that can do that for you? And then you can still go in and make it your own. You
Hmm
can add captions, you could do whatever you want,
Of
but
course.
it like really just takes out the time, like the tedious
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, it's literally doing the dishes so I can like arrange them neatly.
Yeah.
So I love it. And then, like the magic clips, like the latest feature where you can like type in what exactly you want it
Hmm.
to be.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, it's one of my it's really one of my favorite parts is like the way that we are putting out AI features, but then on top of that, the way that we're like magic clips. Yes, people were loving the fact that AI created clips for you, but again, they're like, I want more control. I want to be able to say how long I want the clips, who's in the clips, everything. So we're like, okay, we'll give you that. If that's what's going to end up taking that time out of it, like taking out the unnecessary time for you, then let's do it. So
Yeah,
that's kind
yeah,
of Riverside. As far as
yeah.
for me with AI, I will be honest, I barely really use AI. Like I use the AI within Riverside. Like I use the transcripts and things like that. I will ask ChatGPT to help me with webinar titles. I will ask it to write a description of the webinar for me. And then I'll tweak it. But really for me, like my whole job as I see it is really based on this human to human connection. I want everything that I write, every interaction that I have with a community member to be as authentic as possible. It would probably save me a lot of time if I implemented AI, but I just haven't because a lot of the things that I'd want to implement for me are the creative process doing the dishes example. Like that stuff isn't doing the dishes for me. Like I love the
Mhm.
connection and contact that I have with people. So I haven't used it so much.
For me, AI is more like my personal
Hmm.
assistant. So the one thing that I absolutely hate to do is organize my day, like the administrative bit of it. And that's something that I find really, really helpful because, like, I'd go into ChatGPT and say, "Hey, I need to do this. Can you break it down into steps and the approximate time that it's going to take me?" And then I have that to work with and like put it in a schedule. And
That's a really smart way of doing it. See, everyone always introduces really
yeah,
smart ways of using AI to me, and then I just don't implement them. So I don't know what's up with me. I'm gonna be like left behind in the
yeah,
past, but like so
no.
far, so far I talk a lot about AI in my job, but don't actually utilize it so much myself beyond the AI tools within Riverside, to be honest. Yeah.
Uh-huh. For me, it's like you just got to find the task you really hate and then give it to ChatGPT.
Exactly.
And the stuff you love, you got to do it
Exactly. So for
yourself.
me, that's titles. When I was a journalist, I hated writing headlines. Like when you were saying short form, long form, like I could write you a like 12-page article and it'll take me less time than writing like a headline for that article. Just like I cannot. Short form is really hard for me.
Um, so the next bit is like there's this visible shift to be more inclusive, create strategies to include and build on like diversity and inclusion, especially online. So, what are some
Mhm.
techniques that you use to encourage diversity that we can all learn from?
So I think that I'm lucky enough to be leading a community within Riverside that is extremely diverse. So kind of has come naturally in the way that what we were talking about before with Riverside is that they're like it allows more people to tell their stories.
Mhm.
So what I find is that because you have that ability for more people to tell their stories, you end up getting more diverse stories. There are some ways that we kind of will like post for Black History Month and for Pride and things like that, celebrating creators that fall within these groups. For example, we did podcasts that talk about LGBTQ plus issues for Pride, and we were highlighting those podcasts. But beyond that, what I do is when I'm meeting with different users, I am always trying to I'm trying to create programs that include as many people as possible. So for example, we have podcaster roundtables. And what that is that like instead of a webinar where it's me and another person from Riverside speaking, what we do is we take creators from
Mhm.
all over the Riverside community to talk about something specific. So maybe we'll have three podcasters come on to talk about how they grew their audience. When I'm creating that programming, I'm trying to make sure that that the most diverse set of voices at the table. So that's through experience, that's through who people are, that's through how they identify themselves. So really trying to create a diverse panel on those types of events because I want people to be able to watch, especially these roundtables, and see themselves in somebody. Maybe that's seeing themselves in how the person presents. Maybe that's seeing themselves in how the person works, like their workflow. So I try to do a bunch of different, like I try to bring as many voices to the table as possible so that people feel included and also so that people can kind of relate to at least one of the people on our panel.
That's beautiful, and I like that you do put so much of an effort into it, because yeah, that does make it more human and relatable, right? At the end of the day, it's fresh.
Yeah, and I also think that it sticks with people more. Like I am a member of the LGBTQ plus movement group. I forget. I don't know how to phrase that, but the community. Funny. So I'm part of that community, and I just feel like when I'm watching content, listening to panels, anything, if there's somebody else from the community that's also on that panel, I don't know what it is about it, but I like it. Their voice sticks with me. I pay more attention to what they're saying. It's just I relate more to that person. So I want to create as many opportunities for people in the community to feel that same way.
Hmm. Something similar was also like what got me started in, right? Because I moved from Mumbai to Toronto like 5 years ago, and the market here, like when you're trying to get a job, is kind of difficult because, especially in marketing, um, it's not clicky, but it has like this everyone who's worked together for years and gone to college together for years, and
Hmm.
there's less space for diverse immigrant voices. So that was like one of my motivations to, give people like me who've moved in recently, who are women in the field, a chance to, really talk about themselves and a chance to inspire and, let people know it's possible and this is what I did to succeed. So it just feels, uh, it just feels more encouraging to me, right?
Yeah. And I can relate even in that way as you were talking about it, like the idea of moving to another country and not having that marketing experience or having, but just not being in that certain bubble,
Mm-hmm.
and then having to kind of figure out how to break into it
Mm-hmm.
as somebody that didn't go to college with these people, as somebody that doesn't have the same kind of resume as other people, you
Mm-hmm.
know? So yeah, I mean, and that's another way that like I'm saying that people can connect with other people, whether that's through their story, whether that's being a part of the same community. Like there are tons of ways and different methods for people to, or means for people to connect with other people's stories.
Hmm. And
Yeah.
that's really powerful because that also kind of, you're able to engage on a much deeper level because you experience the same things. So
Yeah.
yeah, I just find a lot of strength from, seeing these stories which are used to be ignored, but they're not anymore, thank goodness. So it's, yeah, it's quite empowering. Like at least I'm very inspired by all of that.
Same. I am too.
Yeah. Moving on to user generated content, like all brands are encouraging this, and Riverside is made up of this. It's just literally empowering everyone to do that. So, um, encouraging community members to create and share their own content is pretty much an engagement strategy in itself.
Hmm.
When you're fostering ownership and stronger ties within the community, how do you encourage this?
So there are a few different ways that we do this. First of all, I mean, again, lucky because I am with Riverside and just by design, the people that are using the platform are creating content. So it's definitely a much easier community to ask them to create content because they're already doing it. So there are a few ways. I mean, they want more people to hear their podcast or whatever they're working on. So they're sharing it online and tagging us naturally. But beyond that,
Mm-hmm.
it's also there will be ways that we'll nudge a bit. We'll say, um, has anyone used, let's say, the new animated captions? Share what you've made here. The people will share it. I think that it's also we comment and share, repost a lot of the stuff that people will tag us in and we'll engage with people. People need like
Mm-hmm.
people aren't just going to create user generated content just because it want to for your company. There has to be something in it for them. And so if you're not going to pay them, what is that going to be? You really need to get down to that. So for our users,
Mm-hmm.
it's they want to get under on more people's feeds, to be able to have more people listen to their show, to be able to have their content reach new people. So whether that's liking their posts, commenting on them, resharing it, it encourages other people to do that. But also, I mean, again, with these personal connections, I'll find that if I'm on a call with somebody and I reach out to them personally, they are so much more likely to post like a week, 2 weeks later, like editing on Riverside and tag us, like just because they feel connected to the brand. So there's that. We'll have competitions saying like, are you editing on Riverside? Show us what you're creating. And again, these people are already creating this content, so they're posting it themselves. But in this point, they're able to also tag us. We try to really engage with everyone who has tagged us
Mm-hmm.
or mentioned us on any platform, because we want to acknowledge them, because then it shows them, I want to keep doing this. Riverside saw this. So maybe there could be a deal, like a partnership that we do in the future. Maybe they'll repost
Mm-hmm.
it and another podcaster will
Mm-hmm.
see what I'm working on and will want to listen to my show. So there's that. And then on top of that, whereas also
Mm-hmm.
we have Riverside guides. So my idea was that a lot of people are posting YouTube videos and they're creating checklists. Like, I'll watch a YouTube video and I'll be like, okay, here's what I need to do. I need to do X, Y, Z. I'll make a checklist. What we've started doing is we're partnering with community members and saying, hey, make us a checklist. Maybe it's a checklist that, like, before I record, I put this next to my desk and I check everything off. Great. We do it together with them. We put their logo on it and a few ways to connect with the creator of the
Mm-hmm.
guide. And that way we get the content by these creators for creators, and they also get themselves in front of our community. So it's really a win-win. So there are a lot of ways. Just, you have to think about what your user will get out of
Mm-hmm.
creating that content for you, and then help them succeed in that way.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful. And I think the other thing that I personally get from, you mentioned like Riverside always engages when you're online, and that's true. For me, like when I was starting this journey, I was starting it alone.
Hmm.
So just those interactions, they made a big difference because I was like, hey, you know what? There is this group of people who are also doing this. You're not alone. You've got a lot of help. Just like you just be within the right, set of people, and that was the biggest takeaway for me, because I do have the marketing skills to kind of get to the other places, but nobody wants to be alone.
Exactly. But I would say for that, I don't know if that's UGC. I definitely agree. But I think for that, that's more people coming to the community, posting on it,
Hmm. Hmm.
commenting back. So that's more like engaging with each other. I think that
Hmm.
because Riverside's a remote recording platform, that's how it started, is like the thing is
Hmm.
that a lot of people are doing this alone. And so there's definitely a need for community within it, because so many people want to connect with each other and have, like, feel like you're a podcaster if you're in this group of other podcasters who are talking about microphones. Like, it's just this feeling of camaraderie that you get. And like, marketing wise, the more somebody feels like that, I mean, most people, there's like a statistic that, like, I forget the exact amount of like the exact percent, but most people stop podcasting after 10 episodes. So the more that we can make people feel like they're a podcaster, like they are in this community, the more they're motivated and the more they continue using it. And by proxy, the more they keep using Riverside. So also, like, as a marketing play, it's also important to make people feel empowered in that way.
Hmm. Hmm. I see that. That's Yeah,
Yeah.
that's very smart. If you're a marketing communications professional with over 10 years of experience, you probably have some valuable insights to share with our listeners. I would love to have you on the show, learn about your journey and your experiences. If you want to be on the show, please email me at marketingoverchai@gmail.com and we'll take it from there. Thank you. What advice do you have for aspiring marketers, especially those looking to become community builders?
I would say that you can market yourself as a marketer in a lot of different ways. So even if you don't have marketing experience, you can turn so many different experiences into relevant experience for marketing. For example, like, I was a journalist. So when I was speaking with people about marketing, they're like, well, you don't have any marketing experience. Like, how do we know they're going to be good at this? And what I'd say to them is, I was like, I worked on presidential campaigns. Like, the US presidential election is the biggest marketing campaign every 4 years in the world. Like, the
Mm-hmm.
way that you market yourself, how you speak to different voters, how you change your messaging based on what people are voting for. Like, it's as if somebody gets in the US, one purchase every 4 years. So how do you sell them on you being the thing they purchase, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
like, that's like you just any experience can be turned into relevant experience if you shift it the right way. And if you do that, it also shows that you're a good marketer, right? So, I would say
Yeah.
that that like we've all experienced marketing. You all know what it feels like to watch an ad that you're like, "Wow, I love this." You all know what it's like to scroll through social media and be like, "Ooh, I need to buy that." Try to channel those moments into
Mm-hmm.
powerful ways that you can sell yourself as like, "Hey, I know what it takes to have this job and do this successfully."
Beautiful. It's just like inner strength and confidence that's, you know,
And repackaging, rebranding. It's really it's about marketing yourself, even if you don't have relevant experience. Sometimes that can actually be better for companies. Like I might not
mm-hmm.
have all of the yeah, I might not be the best at email marketing. I know I've been working with these customers for this amount of time and I know how to speak with them. Like there are ways to really channel your experience into marketing.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Um,
Thank you.
so how do you manage like work-life balance with such a demanding field?
I would say that first of all, I do feel like there is a work-life balance that's kind of built into the culture here.
Beautiful.
About just like spending time with family and seeing friends and things like that. But I would also say that for me, what's hard is that a lot of the things that I'm doing are on my personal accounts. So, like, for example, our community, we have a huge community, like 18,000 people on Facebook. But when I'm answering people and I'm talking with people, it's on my Facebook page. Like, I'm using my own. I should have done this, but I did not create a new account. And I actually thought that that was good at the time because I was like, okay, I'm an authentic person and they can see that. But what that means is that I'm constantly getting notifications on my phone. So I've tried that could be really overwhelming. So what I've tried to do is like I'll check it periodically when I'm off hours, but there are some times where I'm
Mm-hmm.
sitting there and I'm like, okay, I can answer a few questions right now. You know, like I'll be out to dinner
Mm-hmm.
and I'll be this actually happens more often than you'd think, but I'll be like out to dinner and I'll like be in line to use the restroom and I'll like see a notification on my phone from somebody asking like a simple question, "Hey, how do I add my intro?" I'm like, I'm here. We'll send that. So I'm like, I'll send them a link to be able to do that.
That's so sweet.
So I'd say that like work life, yeah, but like it affects your work life balance because you're suddenly like, oh my gosh, am I working right now? But sometimes like I've been able to draw a line between like, okay, I'm working, but it doesn't do much right now for me to answer somebody's question. It's going to really help them. So I think that because culturally work life balance is built in a bit more where I am, uh, it allows for me to make my own exceptions. I never really feel like I'm too bogged down by work.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
That's really
Yeah, it
nice.
took a while to get there because journalism, I had two phones. Like I had like a work phone that I would constantly have to have on me. So it is nice to be able to split that up. I also a lot of my meetings are with people in the United States and there's a time difference. So I have learned to set a day or two where I don't do meetings with users after a certain time, just because I would be in meetings that would end at
Mm-hmm.
like 8 o'clock at night, and I'd be like, okay, and I'd have them every day of the week. So I'm like, okay, I need to be able to set out some time to do things that I love. So something like ceramics for me, like a hobby that you can shut off your brain and just like focus on that one thing is a lifesaver. So making sure to leave yourself time for those things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I get it when you say like shut off your brain. For me, that's walking.
Hmm.
And especially walking in summer, I just have to look at flowers. And I don't know when I turned into this old lady who does
Yeah,
that,
when did this happen to
but
all of us?
but I'm there now, and I actually
Yeah.
like it.
I just like there's something
Um,
about like sitting at the wheel for like ceramics and it just like going in circles and you're making something and it's just like your brain can completely shut off and you just focus on that. It's really, really helpful for work-life balance.
I think there's also going to be like a dopamine hit because you have something actually tangible created by
Exactly.
the end of that. I mean, like that's going to be pretty cool. Like
Yeah,
I think that's
exactly.
pretty cool. Uh, so what keeps you passionate and motivated about work? Because you have like very high energy when you talk
Thank
about
you.
Riverside and community and what you do. Where it's like, yeah, what keeps you in that space?
I This is a lame answer, but I just am naturally this kind of person. I don't know, like I've always just
Oh,
been very high energy. I've always been like the problem is that if I don't like what I'm doing, it also reflects on me very much. But I just really I like
mm-hmm.
community. I like Riverside. I like the people that I'm
People.
working with. So I would say that what motivates me is that. So there are some days that are like not so beautiful. Like there are some days where there'll be people who are frustrated, or there will be, I'll make some type of mistake that knocks my day out of whack. So what I've started to kind of do is, if I'm having those days,
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that I work in one thing into my schedule that just makes me happy. So for example, I'm trying to start a podcast within Riverside, and so if I'm having a day that's a little
Oh,
frustrating, I'm like, "Ooh, let's just edit a little bit more of that episode." And it rejuvenates me, it makes me excited. Or I'll just spend a few minutes scrolling through other Facebook groups and commenting and helping people and directing them to Riverside or wherever wherever would best help them. And it rejuvenates me. That's what's kind of keeps me high energy and motivated, is reminding myself with things that I love to do about why I love what I do.
I love it. I love it. Yo, Kendall, thank you so much for doing this. I've really loved our conversation, and you brought like such a lovely energy. It's motivating. I love everything that you're
Thank
doing
you.
with Riverside, because for a small creator like me who's just started out, I don't feel alone. I feel empowered. I feel like I have all the tools and resources I need to, succeed. Also, this episode is not sponsored by Riverside. I know I've been fangirling this
No,
for
it
a
seems like it.
while, but but, but believe me, it's not. But yeah, everything you've done, even the fact that you've just taken the time to sit with me and spend an hour talking about what you do, it means a lot, and it's very encouraging to someone like me. So thank you so much for taking that time to do it and caring enough to do it. I really, really appreciate it.
Of course. Just to go back to what I was saying, having this conversation with you, it makes I appreciate it just as much as you. It really helps my day too. So, not to sound selfish in that way, but I love doing this, and this is one of my rejuvenating tasks of my day, is sitting down and talking with you. Really just it's one of those many times that I'm like, this is why I love doing what I do. So, thank you for giving me that opportunity.
Thank you for being here. So, if our listeners want to connect with you,
Mhm.
you mentioned you have a Facebook group, you have a
A
bunch of
lot of
other
ways to
things, and
get
now
in
you have your
contact
own,
with me.
and you have your own podcast coming out. So,
Fingers
I'd
crossed.
love to leave links to everything.
Awesome. Yeah. So LinkedIn, you could just search for Kendall Brightman. We could leave the links in the show notes. But if you want to join our Riverside community, and you could find me there, if you go on Facebook, it's Conversation Creators by Riverside.fm. So that's our group of 18,000 creators,
Mhm.
and you can search for that and find me there, along with updates and a whole community of just really the most helpful, supportive group of people.
Yeah, it is. It is a great place. I only found them on LinkedIn, but I'm gonna go find this one as well.
Yes, the Facebook group's where it's at. So Conversation Creators by Riverside.
Yay! I got an invite to the party.
Yeah,
'Cause
exactly. You're
yeah.
all invited.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. Yeah, I'm really happy we had this, and this is the start of my day. Like, this is the first thing I'm doing in the morning. I'm feeling so energized, and that's all because you have like this really amazing personality. So
Thank you.
thank you for being you.
Of course. Thank you for being you and inviting me. I had a really good time, so thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate your support and you all being here. I'm on a mission to get 100 listeners on Spotify, and I'd really appreciate it if you all can share, like, and go follow me on Spotify as well. It does mean a lot. I have a lot of exciting episodes coming up in the next few weeks, so make sure you're subscribed, tune in regularly, and keep those ideas brewing until I see you next time on Marketing Over Chai. This is Kate signing off.